I thought I had a perfect life, a loving wife, a stable job, a home we built together. We were that couple everyone looked up to, the one that seemed to have it all figured out. We'd been married for 7 years, and while things weren't always a fairy tale, I believed our foundation was solid. I trusted her completely, and I trusted my brother, my only sibling, the one I grew up with, fought with, and would have done anything for. That's what makes this story so hard to tell, because the two people I trusted most in the world shattered my reality in the most unimaginable way. It all started subtly. A shift in our routine I couldn't quite put my finger on. My wife, Sarah, started working late more often. She became more protective of her phone, always keeping it face down or taking it with her to the bathroom. When I asked about it, she'd brush it off as work stress or just needing some space. I tried to be understanding. Every marriage has its lulls, right? I suggested date nights, a weekend getaway, anything to reconnect, but she always had an excuse. She was too tired, too busy, or just not in the mood. The distance between us grew, and our home started to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a shared living space with a stranger. At the same time, my brother, Mark, was going through a rough patch. He'd recently lost his job and was staying with us temporarily. I was happy to help. He was my little brother. After all, I thought having him around might even liven things up. In hindsight, that was the biggest mistake of my life. I noticed they were spending a lot of time together while I was at work. They'd laugh at inside jokes I wasn't a part of. When I'd come home, they'd suddenly go quiet. I'd ask what they were talking about, and they'd just say, "Oh, nothing." I dismissed my suspicions as paranoia. I told myself I was just stressed and imagining things. Why would I ever think the worst of my wife and my own brother? The gut-wrenching confirmation came on a Tuesday I'll never forget. I had a terrible migraine and decided to come home from work early. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Mark's car. Nothing unusual there, but as I walked up to the front door, I heard them laughing. Not just any laugh, but the intimate, carefree laughter Sarah and I used to share. My hand froze on the doorknob. My heart was pounding in my chest. I quietly turned the key and pushed the door open just enough to peek inside. And there they were, in our living room, on our couch. They were kissing. It wasn't a friendly peck. It was a passionate, desperate kiss that told me everything I needed to know and a million things I never wanted to. I felt the air leave my lungs. The world tilted on its axis, and for a second, I thought I was going to pass out. The migraine I had was gone, replaced by a searing white-hot pain that consumed my entire being. I backed away from the door, stumbled down the steps, and got back in my car. I drove without a destination. My mind, a chaotic storm of betrayal and disbelief. How could she, and how could he, my brother, my blood? The man I'd shared a childhood with, he was living under my roof, eating my food, all while sleeping with my wife behind my back. The double betrayal was a knife twisting in my gut. I drove for hours, ending up at a park overlooking the city. I sat there as the sun went down, replaying every moment, every missed sign, every lie, the late nights at work, the secretive phone calls, the nothing they were always talking about. It all clicked into place, forming a hideous picture of deceit. I felt like a fool, a blind, trusting fool. I went through a whole range of emotions: shock, rage, a deep, profound sadness, and then a strange, chilling numbness. The life I knew was over. The family I thought I had was a lie. What was I supposed to do now? Go back home and confront them? Yell, scream, break things? I knew I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to think. When I finally returned home late that night, the house was dark and quiet. Mark's car was gone. Sarah was in bed, pretending to be asleep. I lay down beside her, the space between us feeling like a canyon. I didn't say a word. I couldn't look at her. The silence was deafening, filled with all the unspoken words, the lies, and the betrayal that now hung between us. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I went to work, went through the motions, but I was a ghost. My mind was elsewhere, trying to figure out a path forward from this wreckage. I decided to confront my brother first. I met him at a coffee shop, a neutral territory. As soon as he sat down, I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I know, I saw you." The color drained from his face. He started to stammer, to make excuses, but I cut him off. I didn't want to hear his apologies or his justifications. I just wanted to know why. Why would he do this to me? He eventually broke down, saying it just happened. He said they connected over their shared frustrations and that he never meant for it to go so far. Never meant to hurt me. His words felt hollow, meaningless. How could he not know this would destroy me, destroy our family? I told him to pack his things and get out of my house. I told him I never wanted to see him again. The look on his face was one of regret, but it was too little, too late. The bond we shared was broken, perhaps irreparably. Confronting Sarah was even harder. That night, I sat her down in the same living room where I had seen them. I told her I knew everything. She broke down instantly, sobbing, admitting to the affair. She said she felt neglected, lonely, and that Mark was just there. He listened to her. She didn't try to excuse her behavior, but her reasons felt like daggers. Was I so absent that she sought comfort in the arms of my own brother? She begged for my forgiveness, said it was the biggest mistake of her life, and that she still loved me. But could I believe her? Could I ever trust her again? The days and weeks that followed were a living hell. We were coexisting in a house filled with tension and sorrow. We tried counseling. We talked for hours, dredging up every issue, every resentment that had built up over the years. Some days, I saw a glimmer of hope, a memory of the woman I fell in love with. Other days, the image of her with my brother would flash in my mind, and the anger and pain would come rushing back. I was torn between the love I still had for my wife and the profound betrayal that had ripped my world apart. My brother was gone from my life, and my relationship with my parents became strained as they were caught in the middle of their two sons' broken relationship. I don't have a neat and tidy ending for you. This isn't a movie where everything gets resolved in 2 hours. This is real life, and it's messy. Right now, Sarah and I are separated. We're taking time apart to figure out if there's anything left to salvage. Can a marriage survive a betrayal this deep? Especially when it involves family. I honestly don't know. Some wounds are so deep they may never truly heal. What I do know is that this experience has changed me forever. It's forced me to look at myself, my marriage, and my relationships with a brutal honesty I never had before. The path forward is unclear, filled with pain and uncertainty. But for the first time in a long time, I'm focused on my own healing, on rebuilding my life. Whether it's with her or without her, the only thing I can do is take it one day at a time. Thanks for listening to my story.